find the words on page 15 of the supplement, and you can sing along with us when you can find the words on page 15 of the supplement. You can find the words on page 15 of the supplement, and feel free to join us.
Welcome, everyone, and good Yontif. When our student cantor, Gabriel, and I began to plan for these holidays back in May, before I had met most of you, we were really drawn to the song that we just sang for its melody, but also for its message. Ya'aleh kolenu, let our voices rise. It is a piyut, or a liturgical poem from the Yom Kippur liturgy, that expresses our hopes that our prayers will rise on our voices, finding acceptance and unity with the one who is all around us, embracing us. Our hopes that on this day we will find a sense of peace, a sense of unity with ourselves, our loved ones, our community, and with God. That after having done the work of returning, of repentance, of both asking for forgiveness and forgiving, that on this day we remove all the barriers to having an open heart, a loving heart, and that through that hard work, we find joy. In a moment, I will go in front of the open ark, and I will put on my talit, my prayer shawl, and I will ask for our prayers to ascend, and I will ask for God's compassion on our congregation. Before I do that, so that I can be as open-hearted as possible in this sacred moment, I want to ask your forgiveness for any way that I might have hurt or offended or disappointed you. I hope that I may have the opportunity to make amends, and I am truly sorry. We turn to page 247. Please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehitatef batzitzit. Ribono shel olam hineni omed lefanecha b'yirah uv'shiflut. L'hitpalel im amcha b'nei Yisrael u'ba'adam. Sovereign of the universe, in awe and humility, I have come to stand before you to pray with your people Israel and on their behalf. Who is fit for such a task? Yet you are present to us whenever our voices rise in praise. In your great mercy, have compassion on me and on all of us. Let my congregation not falter on my account, nor I on theirs. Guide the lips of those who lead your people in worship. Strengthen our faith and purify our thoughts, and let your love draw a veil over all our failings. So may our prayers ascend this day to the throne of your glory. We are now going to light the holiday candles, and you'll see we have lots of candles here in the front. So I'd like to invite you, if you would like to do so, to find a pair of tea lights and to light the candles of the holiday. And our student cantor, Gabriel, will sing the blessings for us as soon as we have a few candles lit. Feel free to continue to make your way up over the next few minutes. And after you light the candles, once you draw in the light, I invite you to just take a few moments to think of loved ones who are not here and to draw them into your hearts. Page 249. Once more, Atonement Day has come, all pretense gone, naked heart revealed to the hiding self. We stand on holy ground between the day that was and the one that must be. We tremble. At what did we aim? How did we stumble? What did we take? What did we give? To what were we blind? Last year's confession came easily to the lips. Will this year's come from deeper than the skin? Say then, why are our paths strewn with promises like fallen leaves? Say then, when shall our lust be for wisdom? Say now, love and truth shall meet, justice and peace shall embrace. Together, O hope of Israel, in our weakness give us strength, in our blindness be our guide. When we falter, hold our hand. Make consistent our impulse for good. Let us know the joy of walking in your ways. In just a moment, we will continue with the ritual of Kol Nidre. We will remove the Torahs from the ark and place them in the arms of the leaders of our congregation. The ark will be open during the repetitions of Kol Nidre, and so while it is traditional to stand, please take care of yourself, and if you need to sit or take a break, please do not hesitate to do so. And so too with fasting or any ritual that requires physical endurance, please remember that health comes first. We call now upon James Schluger and Michelle Lieberman to join us on the Bima. We rise as we turn to page 251. Page 6 in our program. Let our speech be pure and our promises sincere. Let our spoken words, every vow and every oath, be honest and well-intentioned. Let our words cause no pain, bring no harm, and never lead to shame, distrust, or fear. And if, after honest effort, we are unable to fulfill a promise, a vow, or an oath, may we be released from its obligation and forgiven for our failure. Let our speech be pure and our promises sincere.
וחרמי וקונמי וכינויי וכינוסי ושבות דין תרנה ודאישתבנה ודאר חרימנה ודסרנה על נפשתנה מיום כיפורים זה עד יום כיפורים הבא עלינו לטובה כל הון יחרצנה הון כל הון יהון שרן שוויקין שוויתין בטלין ומבוטלין לא שרירין ולא קיימין נדרנה לה נדרה וסרנה לה אסרה ושבועתנה לשבועות כל נדרי ושרי וחרמי וקונמי וכינויי וכינוסי ושבות דין דרנה ודאישתבנה ודאחרינה ודאסרנה ודאסרנה על נפשתנה
מיום כיפורים זה עד יום matna vehon, kol hon vehon sharan.
Shvitin, shvitin, metelium vutalim.
Shvikin, shvitin, betelinum vutalin, betelinum vutalin.
Ashalivin velakayavim.
Idrana, la nidre.
Esarana, la esarana.
Shavuatana, Shavuatana, la Shavuot.
V'nisnat lach lechol adat b'nei Yisrael v'lager hagar b'tocham ki lechol ha'am bishgaga. Knowingly or not, the whole community of Israel and all who live among them have sinned. Let them be forgiven. Slach na la'avon ha'am hazeh kagodel chasdecha v'cha'asher nasata la'am hazeh mimitzrayim ad hena. As in your love you have been patient with this people from the time you led us out of Egypt to the present day. So in your great love, may you forgive your people now. Vayomer Adonai salachti kidvarecha. And God said, I have pardoned in response to your plea. We continue now with Baruch Hu on page 253.
Arehu et Adonai hamevora.
Baruch Adonai, HaMevorach, leolam vaed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim. Page 254. O God, how can we know you? Where can we find you? You are as close to us as breathing, yet you are farther than the farthermost star. You are as mysterious as the vast solitudes of night, yet as familiar to us as the light of the sun. To Moses you said, "You cannot see my face, but I will make all my goodness pass before you." Even so does your goodness pass before us in the realm of nature and in the varied experiences of our lives. We continue now with Shema on page 255, and I'd like to invite now Liv Musamechi, who will lead us in Via Hafta following the Shema, page 255.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברתם בם בשבתך בביתך ובלבתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובחומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Page 256. True and enduring are the words spoken by our prophets. You are the living God, your word brings life and light to the soul. You are the first and the last. Besides you, there is no Redeemer or Savior. You are the strength of our life, the power that saves us. Your majesty and your truth abide forever. You have been the help of our people in times of trouble. You are our refuge in all generation. Your power was manifest when we went free out of Egypt.
In every liberation from bondage we see it.
May your fill the hearts of all your children, and your law of justice unite them in friendship. May the righteous of all nations rejoice in your love and triumph by your power. O God, our refuge and our hope, we glorify your name now, as did our people in ancient days.
Michamot Elim Adonai, Michamot Adedam Kodesh, Norat Tehilot Osefele. Malchutecha Ra'u Vanecha קיים לפני משה ומרים, צליענו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, כל ישראל.
We rise now for Chatzi Kaddish on page 259 and remain standing for the Amidah.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
בעלמא יברח חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו,
Amen.
יהי שמי רבה מגורנה, לעולם, ולעולמי יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה לעילה ולעילה, מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמא. ויאמרו
Eternal God, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Avotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Elohei Hagadol, Hagibor, Ve'Hagadol, Elyon, Oleh Chasadim Tovim, Lekodei Hakol, Lezocher Chasdei Hakot Ve'imachot, Umevig Ve'alit Le'evidechem, Le'man Shemo Ve'ahavah. Zochreinu lechaim, melech hafetz v'chaim, lechotrenu b'sefer ha'chaim, le'ata Elohim chaim.
מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני,
Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo.
מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה.
be seated. We turn to page 264. Ata v'chartanu mikol ha'amim. We render thanks to you that you have called us to your service to bring the knowledge of your word to the four corners of the earth. You have called us, your servant, to give faithful witness, even in suffering and deprivation. In this solemn hour, O God, we would draw near to you. May the observance of this Day of Atonement help us to remember Israel's sacred heritage. Teach us to build our lives on the abiding foundations of your law. Open our eyes to the goodness of of life and its sacred opportunities for service. O source of mercy, give us the grace to show forbearance to those who offend against us. When the wrongs and injustices of others wound us, may our hearts not despair of human good. May no trial, however severe, embitter our souls and destroy our trust. When beset by trouble and sorrow, our mothers and fathers put on the armor of faith and fortitude. May we too find strength to meet adversity with quiet courage and unshaken will. Help us to understand that injustice and hate will not forever afflict the human race, that righteousness and mercy will triumph in the end. Sanctify us with your mitzvot and bring us near to your service, that we may be worthy to proclaim your truth to all the world. Satisfy us with your goodness and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts that we may serve you in truth. For you, O God, are truth, and your word endures forever. Blessed is the Eternal One, who sanctifies Israel and the Day of Atonement.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amecha Yisrael u'tefilatam be'ava tekabel u'tehi ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael. Yisrael Amecha El karov lechol koreav eneh b'avadecha v'chanenu שפוך רוחך עלינו ותחזינה עינינו ושובך לציון
We enter into silent prayer.
רצונים רפי יהיו רצונים רפי בדיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי וגואלי the words of my mouth, the meditations of my heart, be acceptable before you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. Say shalom bimroma. Yaseh shalom aleinu. Le'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru, ve'imru.
The ritual of Kol Nidre is a mirror of our lives. The music is the most powerful music of the entire year. In words inspired by Rabbi Sheldon Martyr, it is music of rejoicing. The voice of the cello and the chazan and the choir lifts us to the highest heights. It is music of spiritual amazement, of release, of possibility, of courage, and of life. And during the music, the leaders of our synagogue hold the Torah on our behalf. To hold a Torah is to be close to the source of our wisdom, our purpose, and our life. To hold a Torah is to be strengthened and to feel our strength. To hold a Torah is to rejoice like you are holding one's child. And yet, to hold a Torah is to tremble. The weight of the Torah is great physically. It is great spiritually as well. For if Torah is life, life is sometimes heavy and sometimes a great burden. We ask sometimes, can we endure this task? With what strength? We tremble as we confront our humanity, our limits, our fragility. The music is also music of trembling. The sounds are deliberate and trepidatious. In it, we recognize our limits, our weakness, and our mortality. We hear echoes of our smallness, our failures, and our losses. Kol Nidre is a mirror of our lives. It sings of two truths at the same time. Life is cause for rejoicing, and life is cause for trembling. On Kol Nidre, we do just as the psalmist wrote in Psalm 2, verse 11, serve God in awe, rejoice with trembling. Oh, the trembling of this year. One morning this spring, about 4 months ago, I was taking our middle daughter, Avia, to school on the subway. In the hustle and bustle of the morning commute, an ad in the station caught my attention. The ad was part of a New York City campaign for re-emergence as the pandemic seemed to be winding down. It had a picture of a stage filled with actors, and it was encouraging us to go out into the city to enjoy the many incredible offerings of our metropolis. The tagline was, "Get back to life." Tears welled up in my eyes. You can't dwell on the sadness of the pandemic all the time, but life has its ways of opening you up. It struck me in that moment that so much life had been missed in this past year since our last high holidays and before. So much rejoicing has not happened. Yes, the theater, the restaurants, and the travel, but also weddings and graduations and celebrations. Even the more ordinary rejoicing inherent in school and work has just not happened the way it is supposed to. This is not to say rejoicing has been absent. Many would say that new and good ways of being have come to the forefront, a quiet appreciation of home, of cooking and baking, and of being far less busy in a good way. But nonetheless, trembling has been dominant. Who among us has not come face to face with our fragility in the face of this pandemic? We have science, we have technology, we have will, our power is very great, and yet a tiny virus has felled us humans by the millions. Who among us has not been struck with what we have lost in all of this? The ability to feel free to enjoy a public space, even to go to the grocery store. The ability to go to school regularly for so many of our students and for our teachers too. The ability to meet a new grandchild for the first time. The ability to hold a loved one's hand in the hour of death. The ability to comfort one another with hugs and with food in the hours and days following the death of a loved one. And of course, we have lost loved ones, both to COVID and for other reasons as well. There were a few weeks this spring around the time when I saw that ad in the subway station when it seemed that we were coming out of all of this trembling. When I started here at the temple in July, there were a few joyful weeks when we felt that we could gather indoors without a mask. We were getting back to life. We were starting to reclaim that which had been lost. But then things changed again. We started to hear of Delta. Once again, fear started rising with the rising rates. On top of that, we are contending with another hurricane season and its accompanying re-traumatization for those of us who lived through Sandy. And on top of that, the rightful questioning in our society around the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And on top of that, trying to understand what has led our country to a place in which our Capitol building was attacked. On top of that, trying to contend with vicious rhetoric around Israel, which has exacerbated already deep divides within American Jewry and masked the ability to see common ground and enabled anti-Semitism already close to the surface to bubble up and threaten. The temporary rejoicing has given way to a collective trembling as we question how we can get back to life, and we doubt our ability to do so. Perhaps the way to get back to life is to look at our own deaths, something many of us has done just by living through this past year and a half. But the ritual of Yom Kippur offers us the opportunity to impose meaning on that mental journey. For on Yom Kippur, we intentionally approximate our own death. We fast. We avoid food and drink and physical affection and the comforts of warm water. We coax ourselves into the mindset of someone who has little time left on earth. The purpose is to let our hearts open to a way of living that is focused on the question, what matters the most in life, and how can I live accordingly? What matters the most in life, and how can I live accordingly, even though there is a pandemic that stops and starts and throws us curveballs and has resulted in so much tragedy? What matters the most in life, and how can I live accordingly, even though there is global warming and anti-Semitism and a whole host of threats, personal, communal, and global, that make us tremble? Dr. Kate Bowler, theologian and author, recently wrote about her diagnosis of stage 4 colon cancer and a slim chance of survival, a decree given to her by her doctors at age 35. She wrote, Suddenly, years dwindle into months, months into days, and I begin to count them. All my dreams and ambitions, friendships, petty fights, vacations, and bedtimes with a boy in dinosaur pajamas must be squeezed into a finite and dwindling number of hours, minutes, seconds. How did she contend with this stark reality? She describes, instead of making a bucket list of experiences she always wanted to have, she looked to the model of one of her students' father, who discovered that when he was in the last months of his life, that much to everyone's astonishment, his father didn't have a wish list. In fact, his father didn't wish for anything at all, not a trip, not a meal. He sat contentedly in his overstuffed recliner in the living room, humming about how much he loved his family. Her student's father had found a way, despite his limited time on earth, to discover what mattered most in life and to live accordingly. In the words of Rabbi Jeremy Kalmanowski, he learned to love his life despite his pain. And in the words of the psalmist, he learned to serve God with awe, rejoice with trembling. In our Torah reading for tomorrow, for Yom Kippur morning from the book of Deuteronomy, Moses speaks to the children of Israel shortly before he dies as they ready themselves to enter the promised land without him. He says, "I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day. I have put before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life, if you and your offspring would live." In this moment, the Torah says, we have a choice. Before us this day, before us every day, in this endeavor called life, are things that are wonderful and beautiful and easy to love and cause us to rejoice, and things that are painful and difficult and cause us to despair and cause us to tremble. Of course we choose life when things are wonderful and beautiful and easy to love. But let us choose life despite pain that we would never choose. Let us choose life despite difficulty that we have no power to control. Despite the fact that we have limited capability and limited power and limited days, despite the fact that our world, with all of its trouble, its deep trouble, causes us to tremble, let us choose life. To return to the train station with my daughter and the theater ad, if myself of today was to visit myself 4 months ago, I would say to myself, I know you want to get back to life. I know you have missed out on so many things. But I want you to know this pandemic is going to keep going. And we are not going to know when it will end, or even if things will really return to normal. And so, get back to life now. Choose life whenever and wherever you can. Hug your kid, hold her hand, love her up, go outside, appreciate the clouds and the trees, say something kind to a stranger, give tzedakah, choose the nicer words instead of the meaner ones, and don't miss an opportunity to appreciate the days you have been given, the relationships you have been given, and the body you have been given. I have seen us doing exactly this in our community. I have spoken to those who have lost their spouse, their mother, their brother this year, and they have said, I feel deep pain, even conflict, and their memory gives me blessings that inspire me. I have spoken to those among us who have endured hardship, and they have said, this is hard. I am trembling, and my work gives me life, my temple gives me life, the beach gives me joy, the city gives me joy, and my friendships give me joy. In the words of Dr. Bowler, Our lives are unfinished and unfinishable. We do too much, never enough, and are done, even before we've started. The ache for more, the desire for life itself, is the hardest truth of all. But by living that hard truth, that we desire life, that we choose life, we ache for desire for life. Even through the rejoicing and through the trembling, then we serve God with awe. This year has been hard. We have all carried the Torah this year, the Torah of our lives. We have gained strength from it. Let us keep choosing life even though we are weary. And when we are just too weary, let us surround ourselves with a community that can choose life on our behalf and hold our Torah for us, even when we tremble. Let us remember this year the song of Kol Nidre, the mirror of Kol Nidre, so that when the psalmist asks us, how will you serve God in awe and rejoice with trembling? We are ready to answer. We choose life, that we and our descendants will live. Good Yom Tov. Once upon a time, a villager drank too much wine at the dinner before Kol Nidre, and he fell asleep, and he missed the service. In the middle of the night, he woke up and realized what had happened. Not knowing any of the prayers by heart, he started to recite the alphabet over and over again, asking God, "Please, God, I am giving you all of the letters. You put them in the right order." The next day, the villager saw the rabbi after the Ne'ilah service, and the rabbi asked him, "Are you okay? We missed you at Kol Nidre." The villager admitted what had happened and that he wanted to pray, but he didn't have the words. So instead, he recited the alphabet. The rabbi then assured him his prayers had been accepted as they came directly from his heart. In a moment, we will pray for the first time the vidui, the prayers of confession, including the alphabet of sins. Whether you pray using the words on the page, or the words or even letters in your own heart, or some combination, know that your sincere prayers are desired and accepted. We turn to page 269 as we rise for vidui. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, tavo lefanecha tefilatenu. Our God, God of our mothers and fathers, grant that our prayers may reach you. Do not be deaf to our pleas, for we are not so arrogant and stiff-necked as to say before you, Eternal our God and God of all ages, we are perfect and have not sinned. Rather do we confess, we have gone astray, we have sinned, we have transgressed.
Hashamnu,
Hashamnu,
Bagadnu,
Bagadnu,
Gazalnu,
Gazalnu,
Dibarnu Dofi,
Dibanu Dofi,
He'evinu,
Evinu,
Vehirshanu,
Vehirshanu,
Zadnu,
Zadnu,
Chamasnu,
Hamasnu,
Tapalnu Shaker,
Tamalnu Shaker,
Ya'atznura,
Ya'atznura,
Kizavnu,
Izavnu,
Latznu,
Lasnu,
Maradnu,
Maradnu,
Niatznu,
Liatznu,
Sararnu,
Sararnu,
Avinu,
Avinu,
Hashanu,
Hashanu,
Sararnu,
Sararnu,
Kishinu Oreh,
Ishinu
Rashanu,
Rashanu,
Shichatnu,
Shichatnu,
Tiavnu,
Tiavnu,
Tainu,
Tainu,
Titanu,
Titanu,
You may be seated. We turn to page 270. We read together. We have turned aside from your commandments and from your precepts, and it has not availed us. You are just, whatever befalls us. You call us to righteousness, but we bring evil upon ourselves. What can we say before you, you who dwell on high? What shall we plead before you enthroned beyond the stars? Are not all things known to you, both the mysteries of eternity and the dark secrets of all that live? You search the inmost chambers of the heart and probe the deep recesses of the soul. Nothing is concealed from your sight. Now may it be your will, God of all generations, to forgive all our sins, to pardon all our wrongdoings, and to blot out all our transgressions.
Al chit shechatanu lefanecha be'ones uvratzon.
The sin we have committed against you under duress or by choice.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בזדון ובשגגה.
The sin we have committed against you consciously or unconsciously.
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בגלוי ובסתר.
And the sin we have committed against you openly or secretly.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בהרהור הלב.
The sin we have committed against you in our thoughts.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בדיבור פה.
The sin we have committed against you with our words.
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בחוזק יד.
And the sin we have committed against you by the abuse of power.
ועל כולם אלוהי סליחות, סלח לנו וחלנו, כפר לנו. ועל כולם אלוהי סליחות, סלח לנו וחלנו, סלח לנו וחלנו,
For all these, O God of mercy, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך באימוץ הלב.
The sin we have committed against you by hardening our hearts.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בחילול השם.
The sin we have committed against you by profaning your name.
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בזלזול הורים ומורים.
And the sin we have committed against you by disrespect for parents and teachers.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בלשון הרע.
The sin we have committed against you by speaking slander.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך במעשה ובמתן.
The sin we have committed against you by dishonesty in our work.
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בהונאת רעיה.
And the sin we have committed against you by hurting others in any way.
ועל כולם אלוהי סליחות, סלח לנו וחלנו, כפר לנו. ועל כולם אלוהי סליחות, סלח לנו וחלנו, סלח לנו וחלנו, כפר לנו.
Page 276. Who among us is righteous enough to say, I have not sinned? Born of love to love, we grow weary, heavy with regret, sorry for ourselves, and afraid to know what might have been. We have sinned against you, O God, and against each other. Look now to the cities. See the broken streets, poor and decayed and all afraid. See them and ask, what have we done? Help us to turn, O God. Help us to find forgiveness. Behold water and air and soil and sea. Still we beat plowshares into swords and make spears out of pruning hooks. Disfigured lies the human form divine, estranged from its center. Your iniquities have separated you from your God. Vision fades as the presence recedes. The voice grows still. The search for God is over and gone. We are alone, all alone, our meaning unremembered. Help us to turn, O God. Help us to find ourselves. Help us to learn where to seek you. Here now on Atonement Day, we need not be alone with our failings. Let us recall together blessed moments when clouds parted and the sun appeared. We looked, we saw, there was healing and the hope of joy. We were at peace and knew the joy of hope. O God, turn us to the heights where human goodness finds its dwelling. Lead us to your holy mountain, your hand stretched forth in welcome to help us on the way. Help us on our way, O God. Lead us on our path. We rise now as we open the ark on page 280, and I'd like to invite now Luke Hargman and Kathy Goldsmith to open the ark.
Good evening. Shana Tova to one and all. I am honored to have this opportunity to speak to all of you on behalf of West End Temple as your president. I know this is the part of Kol Nidra service that I always despised growing up, the Kol Nidra appeal. The president pleading for money, the ushers walking around with the pledge cards. It just seems to ruin the services. The rest of the Kol Nidra service, the music and the prayers are so beautiful. So why do we do this now? I decided to investigate how the Kol Nidra appeal has become a fixture of American synagogue life. From what I have been able to find out, the first use of Erev Yom Kippur as an occasion for fundraising dates back to World War I. Rabbis throughout the United States appealed directly to their congregants for funds with which to support those whose homes and lives had been destroyed by the ravages of war. That was interesting. The New York Times reported that at Kol Nidra services in 1916, the Reverend Joseph Silverman of New York's Temple Emmanuel appealed to his audience to do all within their power to aid Jewish sufferers. Can't breathe with this mask. On that occasion, and in the years that immediately followed, Silverman's words inspired his congregants, as well as those of other synagogues across the country, to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars in free will offerings in just one day. Over the decades, Kol Nidra appeals have been made on behalf of the Palestine Emergency Fund, the State of Israel, and the resettlement of refugees, as well as for such everyday causes as running the temple and fixing the temple's infrastructure. The Kol Nidra appeal is a vital component in supporting our temple's continued presence in our lives. It is a free will offering that bridges the gap between the annual dues and our operating expenses. In addition to supporting Hebrew education and maintaining a safe building environment, these funds enable us to continue providing leadership, guidance, cantorial music, which is a hallmark of our reputation. And it was beautiful tonight. Thank you all. Furthermore, it provides support for social outreach, philanthropy, and long-term planning for our community. In keeping with the themes of tzedakah, prayer, and repentance, which embody the Day of Atonement, we respectively ask you to join together in supporting West End Temple with a free will offering, so that it may continue to be a home we can be proud of. My hope for West End Temple is that we are a true sacred community, where its members give of themselves and their resources in any and all ways. Together we form a vibrant and generous community in which each of us chooses to stand up and be counted. I know that most of you have already decided what you would donate to the Temple's Kol Nidra appeal as your free will offering. And please, believe me, we are so very grateful for every single dollar. There would not be a West End Temple without your generosity. Tonight, though, I have to ask you to dig just a little deeper. An extra $10 or $20 would really mean a lot to us this year. Our income has dwindled due to the COVID pandemic and the subsequent closing of many of our programs. If each of you gave an extra $20, that would really make a difference. This year, we have placed the pledge cards on the prayer books for your use, or in the prayer books. Should you choose to use them, there will be a basket in the lobby for you to place them in on your way out of services. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for listening. Thank you in advance for your kindness and your generosity in this year's Kol Nidra appeal to help us do what we do best, continue our programming for ourselves, our families, and the world around us. And thank you for being a part of West End Temple. a healthy, happy, and prosperous New Year to all.
We rise now as we continue with Aleinu on page 282. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey, from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again, from health to sickness and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat. Until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. And life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. Our thoughts turn now to those who have passed from this earth. If you are observing a yahrzeit to this holiday, the anniversary of the death of a loved one, please rise. If you'd like to share their name, thank you, and please remain standing. If you are in the period of Thank you. If you're in the period of Shloshim, 30 days following the death of a loved one, please rise. Thank you. If you're in the period of Shana, 1 year following the death of a loved one, please rise and share their name. We rise now in company with all of our mourners as we continue with the Mourner's Kaddish on page 284. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, be'alama divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'b'chayei techol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman karib v'meru, amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shmei dekudasha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Ta'amiran ba'alama v'meru, amen. Yehi shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'meru, amen. Osei shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'meru, amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and comfort to all the bereaved among us. And we say together, amen. You may be seated. I'd like to invite Sherry Copeland, our president, to share some announcements.
I'd like to thank Rabbi Epstein and Cantor Lehrman, student Cantor Lehrman, our choir, Rose Moskowitz, and a beautiful cellist, I don't know your name, for the gorgeous music this morning. It really was spectacular. Thank you all. I'd also like to thank Judy Rubin and the Ladies Guild and Lori Musumeci for the new pew cushions in the sanctuary that you're sitting on, and Hal and Lynn Cranberg for the Bema flowers, Liz Keenan, Tommy Burke, and Liv Musumeci for their tech and production assistance, and Dr. Jill Hunsaker for the Break the Fast bags that you will get on your way out of Temple this evening. Have a wonderful holiday, everybody. Shana Tova.
Just a few more things. So we return to services tomorrow at 8:15. Sorry, not that early. I'm getting here around then, but you don't have to get here till 10:15. And then we will continue with our family service at 2:30 p.m., followed by study. We're going to do some studying on the book of Jonah at 3:30 p.m. And then we'll have our Yizkor service, followed by Ne'ilah, our closing service at 4:30 and 5:30 respectively. You'll be able to see the Yizkor and Ne'ilah from outside in our tent. If it gets to be a little too crowded in here, that will be that alternative. And I want to especially invite everybody to Ne'ilah. Not something you might have thought of as joyous, but we are going to really bring out the joy in Ne'ilah and really feel hopefully that closeness to God, that closeness that just happens after a day of fasting when we're really so excited for the fast to end, but also that the gates are still open and that we get a chance to really open up our hearts in song. So I invite you to come back and close out the holiday with us tomorrow at 5:30. So I want to thank again Dr. Jill Hunsaker for the delicious bags. You're not going to believe this, everybody, when you take this home. It's so beautiful. So thank you so much. And we are going to close with Kianu Amecha on page 79, or in our booklets on page 6. 279, sorry, or page 6.
Anu amecha ve'ata alkeinu, anu vonecha ve'ata avinu, anu nachalatecha ve'ata goraleinu, anu tzonecha ve'ata roeinu, anu karbecha ve'ata notrenu, anu
Good Yontif, everybody.
Good Yontif.